Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be showing you how to draft the basic bodice block. So I'm going to use this paper to draft the front and the back all in one. Okay, so if you're interested, remember to stick with me to the end of the video. So I'm going to use this ruler right now to get my top line. Okay, so you can go for just 1 inch for your top line. The top line becomes the shoulder line. That's the second name for it, is shoulder line. So you can make use of 1 inch or 2 inch, okay, to get it. Okay, so I'm just using this ruler, the exact measurement of the ruler to get mine. So I name it top line. And these are the measurements I'm going to use for this bodice. On the picture, you will see how to take the across back measurement. The across chest measurement is the second one. The front shoulder, that is how to take the measurement of the front shoulder. How to take the measurement of the back shoulder. Okay, which so many of us know as the normal shoulder. This is how to take the measurement of the full front length. The full front length, another name for it is half cut or half length. And then how to take the measurement of the nape to waist. And then the bust point. This is the bust point, as you can see. And the bust span measurement, this is how to take the measurement of the bust span. So moving on, I have my top line. The next thing I'll do is to take my half length or full front length or half cut measurement, which is 16 inch. I'm taking it from that top line, don't forget. So I'm going to rule a straight line down to the other side. Don't forget, we are drafting for the front and the back in one place. So I'm going to rule a straight line with my normal full front length or half cut or half length measurement. So whichever one you understand it with. Okay, so the next thing I will do now is I'm going to move up from the point of the half length line or the full front length line for my nape to waist measurements. You already see how to take the nape to waist measurement. So I'm going to move up. I have 14.5. So I'm marking it. I'm not going to rule all the way straight down for this one because that one is just for the back. The nape to waist is what is representing the full front length or half cut on the back side. Okay, so I just ruled that like 7 inch for it. So the next measurement now I'm taking is I want to get the midway between the nape to waist and the full front length. Okay, so I'm going to get the midway between the two, so that will give me my bust line. Now I will take the measurement between the two. Whatever I get there, I'm going to minus 1 inch. I'm going to minus 1 inch. So right now I've gotten 7.28. So I'm going to subtract 1 inch. So I'm going to be using 6.2. Okay, 6.025. So don't forget, take the nape to waist. From the nape to waist and the full front line, the difference between the two. Okay, then you less 1 inch. So this particular method is very, very effective for any drafting. If you are making use of this method of drafting, it's very effective to help you get a very perfect pattern. So the next thing I will do right now is from my full front length line or from my waistline, I'll get my hip. So I'm coming down by 8 inch to get my hip line. So 8 inch works standard for almost everyone. Okay, but in some cases you can still go on to remeasure them. So starting from the waist point on the side of the body, you take from the waist point all the way down to the hip. Okay, so you know the hip is the fullest part of the bum, round, the fullest part of the bum. That is how you take your hip circumference, the hip measurement. Okay, so this is 8 inch. This one works majorly for almost everyone. Okay, so I've come down and I've gotten my hip line, I've gotten my bust line, I've gotten my waistline. So right now, to get my underarm line, I need to get the difference between my full front length and my nape to waist measurement. Okay, so my full front length is 16, my nape to waist is 14.5. So I will subtract it, and what I have is 1.5. So that is what I'm using now for my underarm line. Okay, So I'm going to get the underarm line here. So I'm going to roll it out, but I'm not rolling it to the end because this is just for the front side. The underarm line is mostly for front side, the nape to waist is for the back side. So right now I'm going ahead to roll this. I'm just going to roll out by like 10 inch. So you can roll out by 10 inch or more, just a nice amount that can cover up your armhole. So this particular underarm line are for only people with bust, okay? If someone that doesn't have bust, maybe you are drafting for someone without bust, you will just go straight to get the across chest. So the across chest line is what I'm drafting like this. And the across chest line, all you have to do is from that underarm line, just move up 2 inch. So you rule out a straight line also. So but if you don't have bust, maybe you're drafting for someone without bust, you just keep that part and then move up 2 inch normally from the bust line. So this becomes my shoulder slant, 1 inch. So this is my 1 inch shoulder slant for the front. I came down from the shoulder line on the top line. So I'm going to come down at the back 1 inch and 1 inch. So that's my shoulder line, my shoulder slant, please. In other words, shoulder shaping. Okay, nape to waist. So I'm naming everything. Front shoulder. So we are through with getting the actual block. So these are cross chest, this is underarm line. This is the bust. This is the waist. This is the hip. Okay, so we are actually through with getting everything, almost everything, remaining the across back. So that is the back shoulder. Then to get the across back, I'll take the midway between the nape to waist and the bust point. I will just get the midway between the two. So you can see just exactly like this. So that is what I'm going to use to get the across back line. Okay. So that's the across back line. So right now, this is the across back line, and that is all for the block. Okay, so this is the major block you need to draft these basic bodice, front and back. So that's all for the drafting of the block. Okay, so this is the back side, and what I'm going to do next now is start applying all my measurements. So I've divided my back shoulder. I divided it by 2. I divided my across chest by 2, divided the front shoulder by 2, divided the across back by 2. Okay, so all these back shoulder, all of them I divided by 2. Then the bust, the waist, and the hip, I divided it by 4. Okay, so I divided the front shoulder, the across chest, the across back, and the back shoulder I divided by 2. Then the bust, the waist, and the hip I divided by 4. So right now I'm applying the measurements on the bodies. So the bust, I'm going to apply the measurements, the bust divided by 4. So that is what I'm applying on the front and the back. So I'm also going to apply it on the underarm line. Please do not forget what I explained about the underarm line. Okay, so the waist and then the hip. Okay, what I said is that someone without bust, okay, don't need an underarm line. You just go straight to apply your across chest. Okay. So I'm through with application of all the measurements. So the next thing I will do now is to start joining them together. So I'm bringing down the across chest on the underarm line also, because that is going to help me when I want to get my armhole. So I'm going to bring it down. So I'm joining all now. So I'm joining it. The same way I brought down the across back measurement on the bust line. These particular lines now are my armhole line. Okay. So I'm joining them. So Yeah, my armhole line, I'm going to get a sharp 90-degree line, okay, at this exact point. Okay, so that's going to help me to gauge how to roll my armhole, and I will also advise you to do the same. Even though you are going to be using a curve rule, it's also good to draft this kind of short line, pointing more like a 90-degree line. You can use a compass to get it. Okay, just something short like that, and pointing up, just the way I did it exactly, to go a long way to help you when getting your armhole, to get a very accurate armhole. Okay, so right now I'm applying my bust span measurement. That is my bust span divided by 2, 3.5. That is what I'm applying right now on the bust line, the waistline, and the hip line, because I want to get my dart. Okay, so I'm doing the same at the back. Okay, so on that particular line, I'm going to rule a straight line. But before I rule this straight line, I'm going to get my bust point. Okay, I'm going to get my bust point measurement first of all, so that will help me know where to start my actual dart. Okay, so from the shoulder line or from the top line, you get your bust point. So I've marked 10 inch. This 10 inch is my bust point. So I'm going to rule a straight line out to indicate that bust point is needed. Okay, so you will not be confused later. Okay, so from that point now, I'm going to be ruling a straight line down. So this particular point where my bust point hit is where I'm going to rule a straight line down. So I know that is where I'm taking my dart from. Okay, do not forget that part, is very important. But on the back side, you don't need that. Just go straight to apply from the bust line, go straight. So the next thing I'm going to do now is on this particular line you are seeing, that's where I'm going to apply my bust dart. Okay, so but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up by 2 inch from the hip line, because I know my dart is not going to reach the hip line. It's not going to reach on the point of the hip. You know, the dart needs to stop just somewhere close to that point. So I'm going up by 2 inch. Okay, so now I'm going to connect it with my ruler. But before that, what I'm going to be using as my waist dart is the same measurements, the difference between my full front length and my knee to waist. That is what I'm going to use as my waist dart. Okay, that is 1.5. The same measurement I used to get my underarm line. Okay, that same 1.5. I divided it by 2, so I'm applying it. So you can see it clearly. Okay, so that is exactly what I'm using. So divide it by 2 and that becomes your dart. So I'm connecting it to that point of the 2 inch line. So I'm going to do the same here. So but this one I'm going to come down by 1 inch on the dart line. I'm coming down by 1 inch, and I'm also moving in by 1 inch on the bust line. Okay, so from that particular line, that point I made, I'm now going to connect it. So the essence of coming down by 1 inch is so that your dart will start on the main point of the bust point, because if you start it on that bust point you drafted, that's the actual bust point, it might end up being a bit high when you wear the clothes. Okay, if you are seeing darts that are like that, you understand why they are like that. So right now I'm connecting my bust to my waist and my hip. So I've done that, and I'm doing that for the back now. So in order to avoid your dart from starting above your bust point after you wear your clothes, it's good to take down the 1 inch so that it will start on the exact point. Okay, so I believe that is well explained. So I'm also going to apply the same 1.5, the difference between the full front length and the nape to waist that I used as my waist dart and used as my underarm line. I'm also going to apply it here. Okay, so I'm applying this 1.5 first of all here, so that if I take in my dart, which is 1.5, it won't affect my measurement. Okay, it won't affect my pattern or anything. So that will bring the balance. So as soon as I take in that 1.5, this particular one is going to replace it. So my clothes still remains balanced and well fitted. So that is the essence of this 1.5 I'm bringing out right now. Okay, so guys, all you need to do is just take your time and follow this video patiently. At the end of this drafting, you'll be proud you learned this kind of pattern method. It's very standard, and trust me, don't let anyone confuse you. So I'm applying the same 1.5 on the dart for the bust dart. So I'm rolling it out now. So don't let anyone confuse you guys. This method works very well. It's very standard, and compared to anyone you have seen, trust me, with this one you can go into ready to wear production, you can go into mass production, you can save this particular pattern for that day's use. Okay, you can use it. It's very there is this English, so you can always use it. Okay, you don't need to end everything on this place because you're going to retrace it. So right now I'm going for my armhole curve. So from this particular point, my front shoulder and my across chest, I'm getting the midway between the two. So if I get the midway, I'll mark it, and then I'll come out by 3/8. So that 3/8 will help me take my curve very well. So I'm coming out on that particular line by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to move out. I moved out by 1/2 inch there on this particular 90-degree line. I like to call it like that. So now I'm going to curve. So my curve is going to pass through that particular, it's going to touch the 3/8, but it's not going to move into the across chest. It won't affect the across chest, don't forget. The across chest remains intact. So this is my curve now. This is my perfect armhole, very fitted. So on the back side, I'm going to come up by 1 inch. Okay, the front side is usually deeper than the back, so it's usually deeper than the back. So I'm going to place this very well. Okay, whenever you're using the French curve, always be very patient with it. Okay, so that you place it and get the actual curve you want. So don't be in a hurry, because if you're in a hurry, you might end up not getting the actual curve that will do. Okay, so that's for my back armhole, and that's for my front armhole. So the back now, naming it, and then the front. So guys, we are almost through with this wonderful. Are we almost, or we already through? Okay, so we are left with the neck. So what I'm going to do here, before I connect my shoulders, I'm going to move in by 3 inch on the back neck. So I will also move up on the nape to waistline 3 inch. So I'm going to connect it with a curve. So just follow this pattern. Like I was saying, you're really going to enjoy it. Okay, all you need to do is, once you finish this drafting, you keep it and save it for later. So right now I'll connect my shoulder already. So you can see that's my shoulder slant. Okay, so you can see my shoulder slant already. So I slanted the back from the nape to waist, and also doing the front. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take in 3 inch on the shoulder line or the top line. Shoulder line or top line. I'm going to come down by 3 inch. I'm going to get a four corner row and curve it in. That's for my front neckline. Okay, so 3 inch works perfectly for a perfect standard neckline. Okay, so right now I'm curving it. So I'm placing this French curve very well. I'm placing it very well. I want it to give me the actual perfect curve I need for the neck. If you don't curve your neck, the front neck very well, it might end up coming up too tight. Okay, so you need to take your time and curve it so it will come out nice. And if you're not careful with the curving also, it will end up coming out like a scoop V. So that's why you need to place it very well and curve. Make sure it's a proper curve so it will come out nice. and balance the way it's supposed to. So now I'm connecting my front shoulder. Okay, so with this now we are through with our bodice. So this is our standard bodice. Okay, you can use this bodice anytime, any day. You can use it anytime, any day. So this particular line, you can go ahead to do a waist shaping. Okay, if you discover your waist is too thin and the difference between the waist and the hip is too much, is too deep, you can do a little shaping just to bring it out a bit. So the shaping is just highest, just come out by 1/8 and shaping it in. So that is all, guys. You can see it. So this particular bodice is very standard. I don't think with any other bodice you might have seen out there, you will see some similarities, but I'm promising you that at the end of this, if you take your time and learn this one, you are going to be very proud you did, because this particular bodice, you can use it for ready to wear. You save it once you're through with drafting, you save it. If you want to cut out a half cut, you go with the waistline, cut it out, and you can draft whatever you want to do with it. And then you can keep it for later, because in previous videos, I'm going to show you how to trace out. I'll show you how to trace it out, so you can always save this one for later. So guys, thank you for taking your time to watch this video.